Hello, once again, welcome back to my channel. We are carrying on with the health and social care topics. I hope you're all well in 2020, and this is where we start again. So on today's agenda, I will be talking about how people take leadership roles. And when we talk about leadership roles, what I just want to make clear is when you work in health and social care, when you take a leadership role, you don't have to have a title that goes with it, such as being a manager, being a supervisor, or any of that. So people like support workers, which I've done in the past myself, you have to take certain leadership roles, especially when it comes to MDT meetings, or in other words, multidisciplinary team meetings. What this means is because you're the person that knows the service user very well, sometimes compared to everybody else that's there, including your manager and supervisor, because you're spending more time with them, you know what their needs are, and basically you just know them, you're like their family member in a way. Now, what that then means is when you're doing a multidisciplinary team meeting, you're coordinating it by maybe introducing everyone that's involved, introducing yourself, introducing the service user, or giving them the platform to introduce themselves. This is so because everyone knows the agenda that you're pushing for this meeting, and everybody as well is on the same level playing field, knowing why they're there, what their role is, and what is it that they need to do. So by taking a leadership role, you've got certain responsibilities within your leadership role. The first one is recognizing or identifying any additional extra needs that the multidisciplinary team meeting members may have or may require. So this might involve you sending an email or a phone call just to say, does anyone need any variations or any thing doing, such as if anyone's got dyslexia, for example, they might need a different color background. If anyone's got is hard of hearing, they might need maybe to sit closer to the front of the meeting, or any other variations that might need to be put in place. For example, if someone cannot see properly, they've got visual impairments, you might print something in large print, and so on. So that could be one of the responsibilities. Other responsibilities that you've got as a leader is bringing all the documentation that counts, such as the care plan and logbook and any notes that are taken for the service user. So what these two do is the care plan shows or gives everybody an idea of what service user needs are for this particular person and how do they get met. By bringing the logbook, it might also correspond with what's in the care plan, show that yes, the needs that we've requested for before, this is how they're being met on a daily basis. However, that might also show that in the logbook there might be some needs that are being met or some requirements that are not specified in the care plan, and this will allow somebody like the social worker to be able to reassess and apply for maybe more funding, or include somebody else in the multidisciplinary team, such as a physio, or adding more members or removing, depending on whether the service user is improved or has deteriorated in their condition. Okay. Other responsibilities that you might have as a leader in there is ensuring that there are minutes being taken for the meeting. Now, what the minutes do is they will allow you to then show any job delegation or any agreements and disagreements that might have happened as evidence. Because if I'm a physiotherapist and then I've taken part in a meeting, the meeting just finishes, and I might not remember what I've agreed to do, or I might not get all the details of what I've put myself up for. By having the minutes emailed to me or forwarded in any other way by the person who was leading the meeting, that will be very helpful for anybody that's taken part in this meeting, because then they can understand what it is that they need to do from this point forward. So that is it for the responsibilities of somebody that's in a multidisciplinary team meeting when it comes to looking after service users. And I just wanted to make it clear that it's not only supervisors or managers or anybody in that vicinity that needs to be taking responsibilities of leadership. It could be anyone. So thank you for that. And let's look at our next topic. Right. So the next topic is responsibilities of information sharing within multidisciplinary teams. Okay. So what you need to realize is Within multidisciplinary teams, there is a need for information sharing, and we need to specify what the reasons are, as in what the need is, before we go to the responsibilities. So some of the needs may be safeguarding, okay? Information being shared may be shared in order to safeguard somebody. I'll give you a quick example. Somebody in the occupation of someone, let's say a youth worker, has disclosure from a 14-year-old talking about relationships, and then they also find out within this disclosure that the person that this person's dating is probably in their 20s. That then amounts to something that may be a crime, such as statutory rape and so on. Their responsibility within this for safeguarding purposes is to pass that information on to a safeguarding officer, so that the correct or appropriate action is then taken to ensure that nothing happens that we are then aware of at this point, okay? Doctors also send referrals to specialists after they've treated somebody. So these are members of multidisciplinary teams, and they have to pass information or share information in order to meet the needs of their service users. And there are various other reasons why information is shared within multidisciplinary teams. Now, responsibilities that come within those duties are the likes of: is the information being shared correct? Is the information being shared relevant? Sorry, I'm having a cough here. Is also the information being shared going to the right people and for the right reasons? So we've got something like sensitive information. How do we share sensitive information? It's shared usually on a need-to-know basis. If they don't need to know that information, is probably otherwise gossip. The only reason why information is valuable is because it then adds to the benefit of the service user or the organization or whoever it is that's working with them. If there is no element of benefiting from this information, then there's no need to share it. It's a need-to-know basis that we then revert to. We also have to respect the law. We've got the Data Protection Act 1998, and we've also got the GDPR 2018, which is more data protection on a digital platform kind of way. All that has to be taken into consideration, especially by professionals, because you have to censor certain information and withhold certain information and share only what needs to be known to the right parties. Okay? And other responsibilities within there can also be to do with who you share information with. So there's information shared between professionals, friends, families, and sometimes it's for safeguarding purposes or for consent purposes, where someone is not consented for their information to be shared with their family. You have to respect that. So there are protocols that we then have to follow depending on what organization we work for. Okay, so that's it for responsibilities of information sharing. Obviously, I have not included everything, but these I think are some of the main points, and feel free to add in the comments below if there's anything that you think is a valuable point to add to this. So as for that, thank you and thanks for watching. Right, the third and final segment of this video is communication. And within communication, I'm going to be describing different communication methods that we use with service users in order to meet their person-centered care needs. Okay? And when I say I'm going to discuss different communication methods, I'm not just going to name them, but I'm going to give reasons and sometimes maybe advantages and disadvantages. So we've got verbal communication. So you have to look at service users that have got the ability to understand verbal communication, and those that also have the ability to respond with verbal communication, which is speaking as I'm doing. However, it's not always straightforward when it comes to service users, especially those that are vulnerable, learning disabilities, and so on. Within that, there are also certain advantages that when it's verbal information, you can check with them to see if they've understood and if they got what you were communicating to them, and you can also understand what they're trying to say to you. It also means that this is instant and you can double check, you can get feedback instantly. If they didn't understand, you can then re-explain and you can say again, rephrase, paraphrase, whatever it is that you do. You can also clarify if they've understood what you've said to them, and then be sure before you leave the conversation. Okay. However, some disadvantages could be accents. It could be jargon that's used sometimes when people are professionals in a certain profession. They get used to jargon that they think everybody else can relate to. There's also slang which is regional. I've always used an example with my class, such as you take a Cockney to Liverpool, they speak to a Scouser about, have you had scran today or something like that. They might not understand at all what is being asked of them. So we need to be very careful when we're working in the healthcare professional and social care professional, that we need to ensure that our service users understood what is being said to them. The second one is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is a very wide sort of communication. So what I'll try to do is I'll narrow it down to something like body language. Okay, body language sometimes goes together or alongside verbal communication, but what it does is sometimes it enhances the message that we're passing, rather than it being an empty word message. You then enhance it with a smile, for example, if you're saying something to represent a happiness kind of place, or if you're empathizing with someone that's going through a hard time, you show a sad face yourself and you lower your tone, and so on. Sometimes it's hand gestures, facial expressions that can enhance the message, such as, would you like to come with me? And then stretching your hand to somebody. It shows that, yes, you are accepting them to come through to a certain room or whatever. Right, okay. So there are advantages such as that the message is enhanced. When it comes to service users now, we've got some people such as those with autism. They may not understand what body language is. You might do it, but for them, they're just looking at you like, okay, doesn't mean anything to me. So it means then that this is a sort of communication method that we have, which is then not being useful within this environment that we're in. We also have written communication methods. Written communication methods is done sometimes communicating with service users, such as writing notes for them to understand what they need to do, giving them posters. Sometimes you go even to the bathroom, there's a poster above the sink that says, now wash your hands, and so on. So all that is sort of communication, and some of them, they can write something to us and then we can read it and understand what their needs are. However, not everyone can read and write, especially when it comes to people with learning disabilities. So then it means that this is put at a disadvantage. Sometimes that piece of paper can get lost before it passes the message, can get wet, anything can happen to it. But the advantages, again, you're looking at its evidence, it's there, you can write notes and then go and have a nice time at the weekend and then come back to it and they're still there the way they were before. So you have to look at it objectively, I think, with what sort of service users you're working with, to make sure that you put the right advantages and disadvantages to it. Other forms of communication that we might have had are the likes of PECS, which is Picture Exchange Communication System. We've also got assistive technology where people use like iPads, iPods, mobiles with specialized apps that help people, especially those with autism and selective mutism within. So those are other ones, and obviously the advantages are that they can then have a voice. When they've got selective mutism, when they choose not to use their own voice, they can also manage to communicate and put their points across, allowing us to communicate back to them ourselves. However, not everyone will be able to grasp how to use these assistive technology apps, and sometimes they might take a very long time, especially if someone's got learning disabilities alongside their autism. They may struggle or may not be able to get to grasp how to use these assistive technology systems. Okay, there are so many other different types of communication. If anyone prefers a certain type of communication that I've not spoke about, please feel free to add in the comments below and I will see if I can make another video specifying on those. But as for now, thank you so much for watching, and as always, please comment, share and subscribe, and I will keep this going. I know I've been off for a bit. A few factors really added to that I might not go into now, but yeah, I'm back full time and trying to make a lot more videos, make sure that it goes, especially for those that are studying on the HND program, including my students. I'm not trying to let anyone down and I'm trying to get this going. So good luck and I will see you in my next video. Thank you.